Hail, warrior of soul and mind. You're not here by accident. You're here because the spirit of the great ones beats within you. Because while the world is full of noise and distractions, you've made a different choice: to train your mind like a Roman emperor. Not everyone can do that, only a few. Only those destined for more. Picture this. You're in the heart of an empire. You hold power, responsibility, enemies watching your every move, expectations weighing on your shoulders, and yet you remain calm. You think clearly. You make wise decisions. Not out of luck, not out of instinct, but because you forged your mind like iron, with discipline, with purpose, with inner fire. That's how Marcus Aurelius thought, and that's how you can think too. But pause for a moment. How many times a day do you lose control over small things? How often do you let anxiety, fear, or anger dictate your choices? Now compare that to someone like Marcus Aurelius, facing wars, betrayals, plagues, and still writing in his journal words like, "Don't let your mind steal your peace." See the difference? This isn't just philosophy. This is training, mental strategy. What we're about to explore isn't a trend or a personal development hack. It's a way of life, a way of thinking that sets you apart. Because while most people react, you're going to learn how to respond. While others complain, you're going to understand. While the world collapses, you'll stand firm with the serenity of an emperor who knows the greatest battle isn't out there, but within. This is what it means to train your mind like a Roman emperor. It's not about reading quotes and going on with your life as usual. It's about rewiring how you think, how you feel, how you act. It's about not begging for peace when you have the power to build it. And only those who dare to enter that kind of mental training will achieve it. Those like you, those who know deep down that they were made for more. Because you're not ordinary. If you were, you'd be watching something else right now. But you're here because you know that if your mind is sharpened like a sword, it can conquer anything. Your emotions, your habits, your limits, even your destiny. And this is where it all begins. Marcus Aurelius wasn't born wise. He was trained, taught from a young age to govern his thoughts like an empire. And the most impressive part? He wasn't writing for others. He was writing for himself. His meditations were his mental gym. Each sentence a repetition, each reflection a weight to strengthen his character. And you can do the same. You can create your own journal of inner warfare. You can use each day as a training ground. You can choose to win your first battle, not against the world, but against your own mental chaos. But let's be real, this isn't comfortable, because when you decide to train your mind like an emperor, something inside you starts to ache. Not your body, but something deeper. That weaker version of you that's used to quitting, complaining, getting distracted. And that version will resist. It'll whisper, "This is too hard. Now's not the time. You can't do this." And that's where you prove what you're made of. Want to know how Marcus Aurelius prepared himself every morning? Before facing the Senate, the barbarians, the plague? He reminded himself, "Today I will meet people who are rude, ungrateful, arrogant, but I won't be surprised, because I know their nature and I know mine." That was his shield, his preparation, his training. He didn't try to change the world. He trained to face it with fortitude. And that is exactly what you can begin doing today. Do you realize how powerful that is? While most people wake up and check notifications, Marcus Aurelius had already armored his mind against the day's chaos. Not with blind optimism, but with strategic realism. He knew he couldn't control others, but he could control his response to them. That's the essence of Stoic mental training. Prepare not for a better world, but to become unshakable in the one you're in. Now tell me, how many times a day do you let something insignificant ruin your mindset? A comment, a look, a news alert, tiny things that steal your focus, your peace, and you know why? Because you haven't built your inner shield. But that can change. In fact, it's already starting to. To train your mind like a Roman emperor means one thing: to stop being a leaf in the wind and start being a rock in the storm. That takes practice. Every day, with every thought you refuse to feed, every impulse you choose to control, every emotion you learn to observe without letting it control you. Does it sound impossible? I get it. But let me tell you something. Marcus Aurelius had a slave whose only job was to whisper in his ear as he entered the Colosseum. Remember, you are mortal. Why? Because power corrupts, ego blinds, and even the most powerful man on earth needed to be reminded of his humanity. Now ask yourself, what do you whisper to yourself every day? Do you say, I can handle this? Or do you whisper defeat before the day even begins? That voice inside your head, the one no one else hears, is training you, whether you realize it or not. And if you don't train it, it will train you, and not in your favor. Here's where the real work begins. Turning that voice into an ally, a personal coach, not a ruthless judge or invisible saboteur, but a source of discipline, clarity, and strength. How do you do that? With practice, with consistency, with small, powerful decisions. Choosing not to argue with someone who only wants to be right. Choosing not to complain about what you can't control. Choosing to act, even when you don't feel like it. Doing the right thing, even when no one's watching. That's when you're training like an emperor. Because an emperor doesn't need applause, doesn't need validation. His power comes from within. And that's what you're beginning to cultivate. A mindset that doesn't need the world to be perfect in order to be at peace. And when you begin cultivating that inner peace, something powerful happens. No, the problems don't vanish, they're still there. But you don't break under them anymore. You stand, you respond with calm, you act with intention. And that confuses the world, because the world isn't used to people who don't get dragged into drama, reaction, and impulse. Stoic mental training doesn't make you a robot. It makes you fully human, but free from emotional slavery, free from the whim of circumstances, free from your weaker self, the reactive, lazy, excuse-making version of you. And that freedom is power. Real power, internal power, unshakable power. Do you know why Marcus Aurelius still inspires us 2,000 years later? Because he could have had everything, but he chose to master himself first. And that's what most people will never understand. They want hacks, instant results, but not you. You're here because you understand this path isn't fast, but it's eternal. Not easy, but it's noble. Not for everyone, but it is for you. Because you, watching this now, have something inside you others don't. A spark, a sleeping force, something that can't be bought, faked, or inherited. It must be forged, cultivated, awakened with every conscious decision you make to stop being a victim and start becoming the emperor of your mind. But to do that, you must face yourself. And not everyone is willing, because it's easier to blame the world than to look in the mirror and say, today my greatest battle will be against my thoughts. And still, you're willing. And that changes everything. Because the difference between those who repeat quotes and those who live philosophy lies in daily action. You can read about Stoicism, you can admire the greats, but if you don't apply it, if you don't train your mind on your Mondays, in your arguments, in your failures, in your early mornings, then you're not training. You're just entertaining yourself. But you didn't come here for entertainment. You came here to transform. And that transformation begins with a single daily choice. Will I react like everyone else or respond like an emperor? Will I react like everyone else or respond like an emperor? That's the question every single day. And when you choose the path of the emperor, when you choose to pause, to reflect, to act with wisdom instead of impulse, something shifts inside you. You start noticing things others miss. You start making decisions others avoid. You start becoming someone even you begin to admire. That's the power of mental training. That's what Stoicism offers. Not just ideas, but a path. Not just knowledge, but transformation. Not just words, but action. You're not here to live like everyone else. You're not here to be average. You're here to lead yourself first, before trying to lead anything else. So ask yourself right now, are you willing to go through the discomfort it takes to forge an unshakable mind? Because I'll be honest, it's not easy. It will cost you your old self. It will demand that you stop blaming, stop whining, stop waiting, and instead observe, reflect, rise. But if you can do that, if you can look chaos in the eye and remain calm, if you can train your thoughts like a soldier trains for war, then no setback will destroy you. No insult will define you. No fear will control you. Because you'll know the truth, that your mind is your empire. And if you rule it well, nothing outside of you can ever conquer you. Train your mind like a Roman emperor, not tomorrow, not someday, today. Because the world doesn't need more followers, it needs leaders of the self. Men and women who think clearly, act boldly, and live with purpose. And that's what you're becoming, one disciplined thought at a time. Now go and rule your inner empire.